Excelente, etc.
Thrill me.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Horror Flicks and Guitar Picks podcast. I'm your host, Tim, and today I'm joined by the one and only Sam Mobley of the band Frozen Soul. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm stoked to have you on the show, and you guys just released a killer new record, and definitely a contender for Record of the Year in my eyes with No Place of Warmth. Do you want to let the people know, what else you guys got coming up for the rest of the year, as well as if you want to promote? I know you got a tattoo shop. You also do some stuff online with Twitch and YouTube, if you want to let the people know about that.
Yeah. So we have a show coming up next month because we're not going to be able to do an actual Wrecking Ball, which is usually our festival that we put on every year that we host. We're not going to be able to do that this year, but we're going to have like a summer kind of homies event next month, and it's a free show. You just have to bring canned goods and you get in for free. We're going to have our own beer there. It's at a local brewery here in Arlington called Division. And it's going to be super sick. So we have that next month. We do have a small U.S. run. It's going to be mostly like the South. That's going to be in August for 2 weeks with Mall and Body Box and Eternal. And then we have a tour announcement that I cannot talk about yet. So that's going to be a big one in the fall. So that's going to be like a small, like arena stadium / tour-ish. So that'll be, I'm not really sure when that's going to be announced, probably later this month or into next month, but that's going to be a really good tour. Other than that, that's pretty much all we got lined up for the rest of the year. Just touring off of the new record and whatnot. And shop, my shop is in Fort Worth, Texas. It's called Heavy Metal Tattoo. I tattoo when I'm not touring, so come by and get a tattoo.
Oh yeah. No, and I figured with the new record just coming out, I wouldn't even ask about the new music side of things yet, because that's fresh off the press. And you guys have put out a killer run of music videos off of that. I really enjoyed the stuff. Of course, being a horror fan, they're very horror oriented, and I enjoyed them very much. The title cards alone are freaking like immediately have me hooked in them. So, and of course, I love the songs already. So,
hell yeah, yeah. We had a lot of fun making those. Especially, I don't know if you've seen Death Weaver, but me and Chad worked on the bone harp and like the props for that, and like guts, and like I came up with like a storyboard off of one of my favorite horror movies. It was kind of based around that, and then we tried to implement that in the music video, and I think it came out pretty sick. So with the budget that we had. So.
No, it felt very Hellraiser moments with the especially with when you guys were playing, because it showed the barbed wire going from like the body parts to body parts and stuff. So,
yeah.
And then did you want to shout out the online stuff that you're doing? I can of course put those links in the description for anybody that wants to go follow you or subscribe over there.
Yeah, so I'm trying to stream on Twitch a little bit more when I have the time. I'm gonna be doing some like various games like Hearthstone or RuneScape. So it's Sam X Mob Games on there. I do have a YouTube. It's just Sam X Mob, I'm pretty sure. And pretty much Sam X Mob on everything. So yeah, just check it out, and I just kind of hang out and shoot the shit and play strategy games, and that's really it.
Oh yeah, and I'll make sure the link is in the show notes, so make it easy for anybody to go down there and click. They don't got to go hunting too far. So
hell yeah, thank you.
Of course, and we can segue into horror movies. I should have mentioned the music videos after that and segued that way. It would have been a perfect one. But my first question that I like to have ask all my guests when it comes to horror movies is, do you have what was your relationship with horror movies growing up, and did it change at all as you got older and became an adult?
What was my relationship? I was exposed to horror movies pretty early, and I really liked them. The very, very first horror movie I ever saw was Psycho, and I was probably 5. And my grandma, I actually watched it with my grandma, and it was scary for like a 5-year-old. I was like, eh. And then I saw Creepshow when I was younger, and that actually traumatized me for life.
Yeah.
with the roach scene where all the roaches are coming out of his mouth and shit. Um, but I've always loved horror stuff and the macabre and just true crime, serial killers, everything, and it's just continued as I've gotten older. So that's
Oh yeah.
um, yeah, I love anything horror related. Practical effects are super cool for me. Just anything murder related is pretty tight for me.
Oh yeah. No, my son's
Yeah.
5, and I've been showing him stuff for probably since before he was 5, so definitely can't judge on that. He's seen he actually gets excited for like the Five Nights at Freddy's movies, just because he's like he's little and stuff. So he's seen both of
Yeah.
those. He's seen Creature from the Black Lagoon was his first one though, so I did start with a classic,
Oh
and
yeah.
it all started because that was my like my computer background, and he used to like just come like sit on my lap and watch like little videos or something, or like just if I was like editing, he'd come over and so like he'd see it sometimes and be like, "What's that?" And so finally I started showing him clips because I was like, "It's not too scary." And so he eventually watched the whole movie and was super into it. So and that was a good way to show him like the behind the scenes because then all you got to do is show the guy with the head in his hands and like in the costume with his normal head and be like, "Look, it's not real." So it was a
Yeah.
good way to like show that early too. So,
Hell yeah. Getting them
but
started young, so that's good.
right. No, yeah.
Hell yeah.
No, and Psycho is awesome. It's one that I love. I actually like the sequels as well. Well, all 3 of the sequels. 2 is a fun, like surprisingly well written movie, that comes well after the first one. 3 is just a down home slasher, and then 4 is just a wonky film that you get to see Olivia Hussey play Norman Bates' mom. So it's
Yeah.
awesome. But do you have any over the years, have you picked up any like favorites of all time? And of course, you don't have to shout out just the top favorite. You could shout out, a couple that sit up there.
Yeah, my favorite horror movie of all time is probably, I would say, Mandy.
Fuck yeah.
You can't see it right now, but I have a giant replica of the Beast on my life-size replica of the Beast, the axe from Mandy on my wall. I have a
Yeah.
Mandy tattoo that I gave myself while I was watching Mandy. Um, of the Cheddar Goblin. I have like all this merchandise I've bought from that. Also really love Alien. That's probably my favorite like franchise.
Yeah.
And Silence of the Lambs is another one that's really up there for me. And The Cell. The
Oh
Cell
yeah.
is like I feel like the biggest. I like psychological horror movies or whatever. Um, I feel like that's such a slept on movie. It is such a good ass movie, and like everybody's like, "I've never heard of it."
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me? It's so good. Really
Right.
great concept for its time. I think it was a little ahead of its time. Uh, but yeah, I really love The Cell. That's actually the movie I kind of got some inspiration from for the storyboards for a lot of these music videos and stuff. So
Oh yeah, I could definitely see that now that you mention it, especially because that was something I was going to mention that I loved about the cell is that, and I feel like you said, it was ahead of its time because everybody looks for it and definitely like hypes up movies that do it today, where they have like these big set pieces where everything's like bright white with like these colorful reds over them, and like people are just in crazy costume, and no, I love just some of those visuals. If I'm not, that's the one that's
yeah,
Jennifer Lopez and Vincent D'Onofrio's in it, if I'm not mistaken. Was it?
yes, yes,
Yeah. No, I haven't seen that in years, but I remember that's one thing that sticks out is just like those vivid like stills. I need to revisit that one. I really enjoyed it when I was younger, but that was one that scared me when I was younger, and then I just never returned to it. Well, I probably have like caught parts of it over the years, but I've never fully sat down and rewatched it. So I definitely agree it's underrated for sure and needs uh more love. So
yeah, for sure. But yeah, those are probably my favorites. And I forgot the second question. I'm sorry.
oh no, that was it. I was just it was
Okay.
just well, if you had any favorites of all time, then of course you didn't have to mention just the top favorite. You can mention some other ones. But do you have any you mentioned some of the favorites. Do you have any that over the past year or two, or maybe even just 5? If you go back a little further, like 5 or 6 years, that have really stood out to you, and then you wouldn't necessarily call them favorites yet, but you've caught yourself already wanting to return to them.
Yeah, I
Of course,
watched
Mandy being one.
one. Yeah, I watch Mandy pretty often actually. The one with Demi Moore that came out that
The
was so
Substance.
good. Substance was super good. I really, really enjoyed that and watched it a second and a third time. Substance Let Her In was surprisingly good. Um, I think it's called Let Her In or Let Me In or whatever. There was a scene in that movie that was like just it made me grind my teeth. I was like, God, I haven't felt like that watching a movie in a minute. It was
Yeah.
disgusting.
The vampire movie, the little girl.
No, is it a vampire? It's the one where the kid bites the knife and his like teeth start
Oh,
grinding on the knife.
Bring Her
It's
Back.
like a
That's
zombie.
what.
Bring her back. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Sorry.
No, you're
Um,
fine. I was thinking, but I get what you're thinking of. Let Me In was the remake of Let the Right One In, so that was
yeah,
the
yeah,
title
yeah,
that I was thinking of. Yeah. No,
yeah.
hell yeah. Bring Her Back was
Um,
awesome though. That's one of those that has like no levity. There's no fun in that movie. Like after the parent
no.
dies in the beginning, it's just fucking dreadful, which I love sometimes. You got to be in the mood for it, but when I'm in the mood for it, that's like a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, that was a surprising one. I did like Hereditary, even though that's like a little bit older now, in Midsummer and that kind of thing. But um, I'm not really. I haven't really watched any crazy like newer horror movies, I guess. There was like a body horror movie called Men that came out a few years back that was really good.
Oh yeah.
Um, it's scary in its own way. It's not like a hack and slash kind of thing, but uh, that was a good one. I'd check that out if you haven't seen that one. Um, but yeah, those are some recent ones I think that I can think of right now off the top of my head.
No, I
So
really enjoyed Men myself. I was thinking about it yesterday or 2 days ago because I've been on like a mini vacation for the past couple of days. So me and my wife woke up 2 mornings ago and just decided to watch that new movie, The Bride, and Sally Hawkins, who actually or not Sally Hawkins. Sally Hawkins is the mom in Bring Her Back. I'm thinking of the lady that plays the bride, who also plays in Men. She's the lead in Men. I can't remember her name right now, but she just won awards for Hamnet and everything too. But she's awesome, and I wish I could remember her name right now. But she Olivia, I don't know, I don't want to get it wrong, but she was the lead in The Bride, and she absolutely crushed it in The Bride. And if you haven't seen The Bride, I highly recommend it. It's way different than I expected it to be. It's more about like a woman who's possessed by Mary
mhm.
Shelley and then becomes the bride of Frankenstein. So she has like two mentalities that
Oh,
she's fighting
okay.
too. So it's really cool, and it's definitely not like a straight take on it, but very fun, Bonnie and Clyde style. But so now like when that came, that was what it recommended afterwards was Men, and I was like, oh, not the same tone, just because it's the same actress. I don't know if I would
Yeah.
necessarily say you'll be a fan of this too, but which I am a fan of both, but not everybody
Yeah.
would be. But because like the bride literally has like musical moments in it, so it's like that type of movie. I'm like, Men is
Hmm.
a lot more dreadful, and like you got to be like in the mood for
Oh
psychological
yeah.
stuff. So, but no, that ending is wild when it's
Oh
like
yeah.
birthing like man after man. Spoiler alert for anybody, but I guess I should say spoiler alert first. But hell yeah,
Good.
towards the end of the show, I like to ask a few questions that mix the music and movies. And my first one being, would you ever be interested in scoring a horror movie? And of course, this being a hypothetical question, what subgenre of horror movie would you like to take a shot at? Slasher, sci-fi, psychological, supernatural?
Probably yes, I would love to score a movie. I've been working a lot with synth stuff lately. I would love to do something like that for like a psychological horror movie or like a sci-fi kind of horror movie. Um, that would be super fun for me. I don't know if you knew this, but I was actually in a horror movie. Um, I filmed it last year with Kevin Bacon and his family. It's called Family Movie. It's not out yet, but I was talking to Travis Bacon about maybe working on some scores for upcoming stuff too. So maybe that'll happen at some point.
Oh yeah.
Um,
No, I just
but
found
yeah,
out when you were posting the clips, you were sharing the ones that those that podcast just did where they were covering you guys and they mentioned it, and I was like, hell yeah, I got to check that out when it drops. So
yeah,
excited
yeah,
for it.
it'll be fun. I think so. I haven't seen it yet, but
Neat.
but yeah, I'd be very interested in doing musical scores for that. I really really enjoy making synth music. It's like super fun and relaxing for me. So
Oh,
and a lot of like John Carpenter esque type stuff. So yeah, that I think that'd be pretty fun.
yeah. What subgenre would you like to take a shot at?
Probably like the psychological thriller
Yeah.
or sci-fi area of that stuff. I'm not so much into like hack and slash stuff anymore as I've gotten older. I used to be like turbo into gore stuff when I was younger, and now I'm just like, it's kind of whatever now.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know if that's like an age thing or what, but But yeah, now I'm just kind of into the mind fuck movies, so I'd probably want to gravitate towards stuff for that. So
Okay. No, I definitely and that's one thing that I feel like is also kind of misconstrued over the years. I feel like people hear synthwave and immediately think slasher when it's also people hear synthwave and they also or just synth in general when scores, not synthwave necessarily, but they immediately think John Carpenter as well. And if you think of John Carpenter, other than Halloween, it's not any slashers. It's The Thing, it's Prince of Darkness, Mount of Madness, all this stuff that They Live, all the stuff that is nowhere near a slasher. Christine's probably the closest thing, and only if you think of the car as the weapon, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
there's so many things where people immediately attach it to slashers, but it's really, it's in my opinion, the godfather of the synth is, known for doing everything but slashers. He did one and then kind of got away from it. So,
yeah, yeah, for sure.
but yeah, and I love something like that's one thing that I miss is like I don't know if you saw the film The Void, but I feel like that was another one
Hmm.
that did a really good job of using that kind of score with a film that wasn't just a slasher or just because it lived in the 80s. Like I love that film Summer of '84, but at the same time it feels like it could have been synthwave or it could have been synth or it could have been anything, you know what I mean? It could have been uh just like needle drops the whole time and worked as well, but it was like a
Yeah.
small little like low key score, but no,
Yeah,
yeah.
I feel like it synth is just really cool because you can make such a huge atmosphere and like just isolate things and make them very like creepy and have dissonant, notes and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. It's very versatile and I feel like it really fits with those kind of genres like we were talking about. So
No, definitely. You can either create a upbeat, catchy theme with it, or like you said, create the atmosphere that you need. So you got it for both things, for a film. So,
yeah.
but, yeah, hell yeah. And then my second of that, I only do two hypothetical questions, and my second of those is if somebody approached you, and of course we already mentioned the music videos that y'all were doing, but if somebody approached you and gave you like an open budget to recreate one of your favorite horror movies into a short film version for a music video featuring you and the rest of the band, what movie would you choose, and how would you turn it into a music video?
That's a toughie. Um Well, we're all pretty big on Hellraiser, so we'd probably try to recreate some Hellraiser shit for a
Oh,
music video because it kind of also ties into like death metal themes, I guess, like with the torture and whatnot. So,
yeah.
um, yeah, probably Hellraiser. I think that'd be a sick one.
Oh, yeah. Now, a cool idea would be if you went with Hellraiser 3, just I know that's not like the best one, but it's probably one of the funnest ones. Uh Hellraiser 3, where they do the club scene, and of course, like a lot of people, like five of the people get turned, and that's when you get like CD head and tape head and all that stuff. It would be cool if like somehow help like Pinhead showed up in the middle of like y'all's show and turned y'all into a Cenobites. And then y'all, like each of you merged with your own weapons and became the Cenobites instead of being the victim. Well, she would be a victim in a way, but instead of just being these people chasing the Cenobites, you guys would actually be able to get in makeup and have fun with it and stuff. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be tight.
Which of course it'd be cool to. There's so many ways you could go with it. Y'all could find a puzzle box in the back of a venue, anything. So, and that's even if you wanted to go with it as that, you could just be characters in a story. You don't have to be yourselves. So, but
Yeah.
oh yeah. But of course, my final guest I like to ask all my my final question I like to ask all my guests is, do you have a horror story of your own? And it could be, from something going completely wrong on the road, something in your personal life if you feel like sharing it, or if you believe in the paranormal, people share those types of stories as well.
Oh boy, where do I even start with that? I had a weird. Yeah, I guess I got one. I got a few, but this one is in particular kind of bizarre. But so when I was a teenager, I worked overnights doing night stalking at a Target, right? And there was this guy, older guy, who was like relentlessly trying to get me to hang out with him. He was hitting on me. He was like cornering me, like in the aisles. And I was like, "Look, man, I'm not gonna fuck you. Like, fuck off." He was
Yeah.
like, I mean, he drove a red Corvette for some reason. Um, was trying to tempt me with drugs and alcohol to get me to come back with him to his apartment. I eventually ended up quitting that place because he was like getting really kind of rapey and pushy. Ended up quitting that place. Fast forward, um, probably about 10 years, I'd say. I'm working at a Petco and this girl is talking to me about a guy that she worked with at Target who went to prison.
Yeah.
And I was like, "What Target did you work at?" And she told me. I was like, "Oh my God, I worked at the same one." And I was like, "Was the guy's name Felipe?" And she was like, "Oh my God, yeah." So this guy had HIV and was deliberately infecting women everywhere with
Oh
it.
shit.
Like that was his prerogative for everything. So he was trying to sleep with as many women as possible to give them HIV and AIDS and stuff. And it ended up going, there's like a 2020 documentary on it. It was on Oprah, like all his survivors were on it. He's in prison, like he got tried and all this other stuff. And
Yeah.
so he was kind of like a by proxy, weird, um, he could have got my ass. Like if I was like an old lady, that was like, ooh,
Yeah.
because they called him like the killer Casanova or something like that.
Holy
Um,
shit.
because he infected like dozens of women who
Yeah.
then infected their husbands and, whatever. So it was like this big crazy thing. But yeah, I thought that was weird. I've had some weird paranormal stuff happen here and there throughout my life and coincidences. I don't know. There's a lot. There's been time always feel like something is kind of like it has my back, if that makes sense. I don't know what it is, but there's been times where I'm like for instance, there was one time where I was like at a stoplight, and those swinging stoplights that are like fucking huge, like at
Y-
intersections and stuff.
Yeah.
It was super windy, and I was like, oh my God, um, that'd be crazy if one of those like fell. Like it'd just be crazy. And literally one of those fell on the car like as we were going. Like I was like this and it fell on the car like beside me. And I was
Holy
like,
shit.
that guy's probably dead. Like
Yeah.
that could have been me if I was in the next lane. And it's just like these little weird instances like that, that happen and kind of make it out by the skin of my teeth sometimes on things. But yeah, I always feel like something's got my back. I'm not really sure why or how, but
Yeah.
thank you, whatever it is.
Right. And
Appreciate it.
they say stuff attaches to you sometimes, and it doesn't always, like, people sometimes always assume that they're negative, but they don't always have to be. There's been plenty of times where people, like, I watch a couple YouTubers, and there's one specifically that, like, they mention all the time that they feel like his grandmother's become attached to him. You know what I mean? Because there's always like instances where other people bring them up, which some of that stuff could be, staged and stuff. But to me, their reactions, they're not great actors, you know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
sometimes when they react, it really feels genuine. And so no, I definitely understand where you're coming from. It's that's what I see it as, is something maybe attach itself to you that's just not negative. Maybe it's actually a positive thing. So
I feel like that. I don't know. I had an instance where I did technically die for a little bit as a
okay.
teenager and then was resuscitated and by all accounts should have been dead.
Yeah.
But everything lined up and they were like, no, you're gonna live. And I was like blue. So I got resuscitated and lived through that and don't know how or why, but it
Right.
happened that way. If it was anybody else, it, probably wouldn't have been a good scenario for them. But yeah, I don't take things like that for granted either. So I try to live my life to the fullest
Uh-huh.
because of things like that in the past. So, but yeah, I feel like something's got my back and is kind of looking out for me. So
Yeah, hell yeah. And it
it's
could even
fun.
attach yourself then, you know what I mean? Like when you crossed over, something could have came back with you that was just positive. And since then you've been able to dodge Killer Casanova and streetlights. So
Oh
it's
yeah.
worked out.
Oh yeah. What about you? You have any crazy
Nothing
paranormal stuff?
not too crazy on the paranormal side. We have a local like legends thing that I went out to one time and like tried to do that, and it got very creepy. We it's called like Five Bridge Road, I think, and it has like, there's no bridges anymore, obviously, but you can feel like where they have to keep over paving because it, dips back down. Like it's a real small back road, so it's one of those things that they don't do a good job of actually paving it when they do. So every couple years, like, it starts to sink back in, so you could feel where the five bridges were. and you're supposed to like
Mm.
stop on like the first one or fifth one. That's the thing, is like you always got to like, we've tried different things, and one night we tried it and like nothing happened, but then we were in like two groups of cars because it was one of those nights where we were like high school kids, the one of the local bands was like jamming in a frog. Everybody was hanging out, and then we all hung out afterwards, went to IHOP, and then so like that was like 12 people just traveling around doing stuff, and we tried it, nothing happened. But that same night, like four of us went to go back to my house where like a couple cars were parked, and it was just like and we were like, let's try it one more time with less people, like we felt like we overwhelmed like the spot. So we went out there and we parked, and we were in my truck, but at the time I was like, I'm not driving, like somebody else can like swap with me and drive. And so I sat in the back and my two friends sat in the front, and I had my friend beside me. And when we parked, we turned the truck off and sat there for a second, and then all of a sudden it felt like something knocked on like the front passenger window. And it was one of those things where nobody said anything, everybody just shifted and like reacted like we heard it. And so that was scary. That made put everybody on edge. And then it felt like we heard like taps across the rooftop that felt like something ran across the roof, but
Mm.
it wasn't like heavy, but it felt like a child. And like the whole rumor out there is that a child was lost, is like the local legend.
Oh.
And it was creepy as fuck. And the thing is it's one of those like back roads where there is trees on both sides, but they don't go completely across. So I don't really see anything like falling at an angle that would make it, drop like that.
Rush. Yeah.
So we like turned it on and took off, and it was very creepy. But that was really the only thing paranormal I've ever had happen. I've had some stuff. I've had something happen where I did feel like I saw something coming, and then it happened. I was driving one time with my window down and like looked over and saw this kid, and I was a car full of people that time too. And I looked over and saw this kid like riding his bike, and I was like, he looks like unsafely in the road. And then next thing you know, a car's coming. I was like, that car's probably gonna hit him. And boom, the car hit the kid on the bike and just kept going. And we had to like turn around and stop with the kid and like call the cops. And they like found the guy, and he was like drunk driving and stuff. So it was
Holy
wild,
shit.
but it was just
God
like I
damn.
looked over and I was like, that's gonna happen. And with my window open, I like heard it, everything. I was like, holy fuck.
Oh
So
my
it was
God.
crazy, but he was luckily okay. He went to school with my
Oh.
like niece at the time, or cousin. So she was able to like catch up with him and see that he only had like road rash and got knocked unconscious, but I don't think he even broke anything or nothing. So
Oh, well, that's good. I thought he was going to be like dead as a doornail. So,
no, but when they caught up to the guy, he was pulled off on the side of the road, and he had the kid's hair in his windshield. So they like immediately had enough evidence to be like, yep, you did
yeah.
it, sir. So
Yeah.
it was
Holy
bad, but
shit.
he woke up and he
Solid
was
stuff.
like, I was like, kid, I was like, don't move. You just got hit by a car. He's like, you hit me with a car. I was like, no, you got hit by a car. I was like, it wasn't me. I promise.
Poor
But
kid.
yeah, no, it was, I was glad to hear he was all right. And then, it's a small town, but, because I never actually learned his name, which I kind of wish I would have asked for it just to kind of look him up on Facebook from time to time. But, because I never learned his name once they graduated, I never heard again from him. But I know he like went on to graduate and everything. So he was doing pretty good,
Well, good for him.
But yeah, and that was just one of those. It was so weird, just like it kind of reminded me of that as soon as you said like that you had like a feeling beforehand. I couldn't recall another time specifically where I had it, other than maybe at like I can't recall off the top of my head. I'm not saying it hasn't happened, but that time was like so clear. I was like, holy shit! Like I wish I would have like yelled out or something.
Yeah.
But then I was also worried if I yelled out that I would make them like swerve and then definitely get hit. So it was one of those just kind of nothing you could do but watch it happen. So.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy.
But, no, hell yeah. I appreciate you for sharing your stories and for coming on the show. It was a blast chatting with you.
Yeah. This was super fun. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And I'll definitely try to come out to one of y'all's shows in the future. I can't wait to see what the drop is. And I'll make sure to put all the links in the description for your YouTube and Twitch and stuff like that so people can check it out.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.